I came home early to surprise my wife, but what I found sparked a brutal confrontation. Asterisk, the elevator lurches to a sudden stop between floors, and Sophia's breath catches not from the mechanical failure, but from the man standing 3 feet away, his familiar cologne cutting through the stale air like a blade through silk. 10 years, his voice is deeper now, roughened by time and experience. 10 years, and you still bite your lip when you're nervous. She releases the soft flesh from between her teeth, heat flooding her cheeks. Hello, Marcus. The emergency lighting casts shadows across his face, highlighting the sharp angle of his jaw. The way his dark hair now touches his collar with deliberate carelessness. He's wearing a charcoal suit that fits like it was made for him, which it probably was. Success looks good on him. To good. The silence stretches between them, heavy with unspoken words. Outside, rain pelts the building's windows with increasing intensity. The storm that forced her to take shelter in his office building, his building, she realizes now seems to mirror the tempest brewing in her chest. You look. He pauses, his green eyes traveling from her rain-dampened hair to the way her burgundy dress clings to her. Curves exactly the same, liar. But she smiles despite herself, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. I have laugh lines now, I noticed. His voice drops to that familiar rumble that once made her knees weak. They suit you. The elevator shudders, and she instinctively reaches for the rail. His hand covers hers, warm and steady, and electricity shoots up her arm. She should pull away. She doesn't, scared of elevators now. He asks, but he doesn't move his hand. Just unexpected. Complications. Her pulse hammers against her wrist, where his thumb rests. Some things you never quite prepare for. No. He agrees, and she knows he's not talking about the elevator anymore. Some things hit you when you least expect them. The rain grows louder, drumming against the building like impatient fingers. She remembers another storm, another night, when they were 22 and drunk on possibility, when the world felt infinite and love felt eternal. Before the job offer, before the fight, before she chose safety over the beautiful uncertainty he represented. Your company's doing well, she says, desperate to fill the silence with something safe. I saw the Forbes article. Success has its perks. His thumb traces across her knuckles, a feather-light touch that sends shivers through her entire body. But it's surprisingly hollow when you have no one to share it with. She looks up sharply, meeting his gaze. There's vulnerability there, carefully masked but unmistakable. Marcus, I know. He finally releases her hand, leaving her skin cold and aching for his touch. You're engaged. The words hang between them like a guillotine blade. She twists the diamond ring on her finger, a nervous habit she's developed over the past 6 months. How did you? Small world, smaller industry. He leans against the elevator wall, casual as a predator at rest. David Chen, good choice. Stable, predictable. The word predictable drips with disdain, and her temper flares. He's a good man. I'm sure he is. Marcus's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Does he make you laugh until your sides hurt? Does he challenge every assumption you've ever had about yourself? That's not. Does he make you feel alive, Sophia? Really, truly alive? Her breath catches because she knows the answer, and worse, he knows she knows it. David is everything a rational woman should want: kind, successful, devoted. He brings her flowers every Friday and never forgets important dates. He's planning their future with military precision, from the wedding venue to their retirement accounts. He's perfect on paper. Some people grow up, Marcus. Some people learn that butterflies in your stomach aren't worth the inevitable crash. And some people, he says, taking a step closer, spend their whole lives settling for less because they're afraid of how much more they could have. The elevator groans, and somewhere above them, a maintenance crew begins working. Voices echo down the shaft, distant and muffled. They'll have us out soon, she whispers. But she doesn't sound relieved. Probably. He moves another step closer, and she can see the flecks of gold in his green eyes, can count the faint freckles across his nose that she used to kiss one by one. What then? Then I go home to my fiancé, and you go back to your empire, and we pretend this never happened. Is that what you want? The question hangs in the air between them, loaded with 10 years of what-ifs and might-have-beens. Outside, Thunder rolls across the city, and somewhere in the distance, lightning illuminates the sky. What I want, she says carefully, stopped mattering a long time ago. He reaches out, fingers barely grazing her cheek. Did it? The maintenance crew's voices fade into background noise. As Marcus's fingers trace the line of her jaw, Sophia knows she should step back, should create distance, should do anything but lean into his touch like a flower turning toward sunlight. This is insane, she whispers, but her body betrays her, swaying closer, completely. His other hand comes up to frame her face, thumbs brushing across her cheekbones. I've built a fortune on calculated risks, but you've always been my one beautiful mistake. Is that what I was, a mistake? No. His voice is raw, honest. Leaving was my mistake. Not fighting for you was my mistake. Letting pride keep me away for 10 years was my mistake. The confession hits her like a physical blow. She's spent a decade convincing herself that their breakup was inevitable, that they were too young, too different, too combustible to last. But standing here, feeling the familiar magnetism between them, those carefully constructed justifications crumble like paper in rain. The night before I left for London, he continues, his voice barely above a whisper, I stood outside your apartment for 2 hours. I had the ring in my pocket. Her breath stops entirely. Marcus, grandmother's emerald. The one you admired that Christmas at my parents' house. I had it reset for you. His smile is bitter, beautiful. But when I saw the light in your bedroom, go out, saw your silhouette in the window, I realized you'd already made your choice. You'd chosen security over us. I was 22, she protests. But the words sound weak even to her own ears. I was scared, I know. His thumbs continue their gentle caress. I was scared too, terrified. Actually, of how much I needed you. Of how completely you'd changed everything I thought I knew about myself. The elevator shudders. Again, and automatically his arms encircle her, protective and sure. She's pressed against his chest now, can feel the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, smell the intoxicating blend of cedar and bergamot that she's never quite forgotten. This is why I stayed away, he murmurs into her hair. 10 years of discipline, of building walls, of convincing myself I was over you, and 5 minutes in a broken elevator. And I'm 22 again. She pulls back just enough to see his face. What are you saying? I'm saying that I've dated models and heiresses and brilliant women who checked every box on paper. I'm saying I've tried to fall in love a dozen times. His hands slide down to rest on her waist, burning through the silk of her dress. And I'm saying that every single one of them had the same fundamental flaw, which was they weren't you. The words hang between them, dangerous and intoxicating. She knows she should deny the connection, should remind him about David, about the life she's carefully built. Instead, she finds herself studying the lines around his eyes, the new confidence in his posture, the way success has sharpened his already devastating appeal. You can't say things like that, she finally manages. Why not? Because it's true. Because I'm getting married in 4 months. Are you happy? The question is quietly devastating in its simplicity. She opens her mouth to say yes, to defend her choices, to end this madness before it goes any further. But under his steady gaze, the practiced responses die on her lips. I'm content. He repeats the word like it tastes bitter. Jesus, Sophia. Content is what you settle for when you can't have what you really want. And what do I really want? The question slips out before she can stop it, breathless and loaded with invitation. He leans closer, his lips barely an inch from hers. You tell me. The space between them crackles with electricity. She can feel the heat radiating from his skin, can see her own reflection in his eyes, can taste possibility on every shared breath. Above them, the maintenance crew's voices grow louder. They're close to fixing whatever's wrong. We have maybe 10 minutes, Marcus says softly, reading her thoughts. 10 minutes before reality crashes back in. Before you go back to your safe, predictable life. And I go back to pretending that losing you didn't break something fundamental in me. His words are a challenge, and a plea wrapped in silk-soft honesty. 10 minutes, she repeats, her resolve, wavering like candlelight in wind. What happens in those 10 minutes is up to you. He doesn't move closer, doesn't push, just waits, patient as stone, for her to decide. The rain continues its relentless percussion against the building. Somewhere in the city, David is probably wondering if she made it safely to her client meeting. Somewhere in her perfectly planned future, wedding invitations wait to be addressed. But here, now, in this suspended moment between floors, between worlds, between the woman she became and the girl she used to be, here, there's only choice. Sophia's decision crystallizes like lightning finding ground, sudden, inevitable, electric. She closes the distance between them. Their lips meet in a collision of 10 years' worth of suppressed longing, and she immediately understands why she could never quite catch her breath around David. Why every kiss with him felt like an echo of something else. This Marcus's mouth moving against hers with desperate reverence. This is the original song she's been trying to remember. He tastes like coffee and possibility, like every road not taken suddenly opening before her. His hands tangle in her hair, careful not to hurt her, but possessive enough to make her knees weak. She's forgotten how perfectly she fits against him, how her curves align with his angles like puzzle pieces crafted by fate. Sophie, he breathes against her lips, using the nickname only he ever dared. God, I've missed you. She should feel guilty. She should think of David, of the diamond weight on her finger, of the promises made and futures planned. Instead, all she can think is how right this feels, how natural. Like coming home after years of living in borrowed spaces. His hands frame her face with heartbreaking gentleness. I need you to be sure, he whispers. Because if we do this, if we cross this line, there's no going back. Not for me, I know. Her voice is steady despite the earthquake in her chest. I've been sure for 10 years. I just didn't have the courage to admit it. He kisses her again, deeper this time, and she tastes tears, hers or his. She can't tell. The elevator seems to shrink around them until there's nothing but this moment. This choice, this beautiful surrender to something larger than logic. I never got over you, she confesses against his mouth. I tried. God, how I tried. I dated other men, built a career, convinced myself I was happy. But every single day, some part of me wondered what would have happened if I'd been braver. You were brave, he murmurs, trailing kisses along her jaw. You chose safety over chaos. Most people would call that wisdom. What would you call it? The greatest tragedy of my life. His lips find the sensitive spot behind her ear, and she shivers. But maybe not irreversible. The words hang between them, heavy with implication. Above, the maintenance voices grow more urgent. They're almost through. Marcus, her hands fist in his shirt, holding him close even as time runs out. What are we doing? Remembering, he says simply, remembering what it feels like to be completely, devastatingly alive. His phone buzzes, an intrusion from the outside world. He ignores it, but the spell cracks slightly. Reality seeps in like cold air through a broken window. David texted, she realizes, checking her own phone. He's wondering about dinner. Marcus's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. Of course he is. This is insane, she says. But she doesn't step away from him, can't step away. I'm getting married. I know, to a good man, I know, who loves me. But do you love him? The question is quiet steel. Really love him, the way you loved me? The way you could love me again? She opens her mouth to lie, to protect them both from this beautiful destruction. But looking into his eyes, those green depths that once knew every secret of her heart, she finds herself incapable of deception. No. She whispers, not like that, not like us. Us, she agrees, and the word feels like both salvation and damnation. The elevator lurches suddenly, and they spring apart just as lights flicker on overhead. The mechanical hum of normal operation fills the space where heartbeats had been the only sound. Folks, you okay in there? A maintenance worker's voice crackles through the intercom. Fine, Marcus calls back, his voice steady despite the chaos written across his features. We're fine, but they're not fine. They're standing 3 feet apart now, staring at each other across a chasm that feels both infinite and impossibly narrow. Sophia's lips still burn from his kisses. Her body still hums with awakened electricity. The elevator begins to move, carrying them toward whatever floor holds the rest of their lives. My hotel, Marcus says quietly, urgently. The Meridian. Suite 3012. She stares at him. understanding exactly what he's offering. Not just one night, but a choice. A chance to step off the predetermined path and into the unknown. I can't, she whispers. You can. His eyes hold hers as the floors tick by. The question is, will you? The elevator dings softly. Ground floor. The doors begin to slide open, revealing the marble lobby beyond, gleaming with the promise of return to normal life. Room 3012, he repeats as people begin to board, as the moment fractures around them like glass. She nods once, quickly, then steps into the lobby before she can change her mind. Behind her, the elevator doors close with Marcus still inside, carrying him up while she walks toward the storm-dark street, her entire world turned upside down. In her purse, her phone buzzes with David's dinner plans. In her heart, room 3012 burns like a beacon. Sophia sits in her car outside the Meridian Hotel for 27 minutes, rain drumming against the windshield like impatient fingers. 27 minutes of staring at the gleaming entrance, while her phone lights up with David's increasingly concerned messages. Dinner at Romano's at 8. Your favorite risotto is back on the menu. Traffic bad. Let me know you're safe, Sophie. Getting worried. Call me. Each message is an anchor, tethering her to the life she's built, the promises she's made, the future she's planned with methodical precision. But sitting here, she realizes that somewhere along the way, planning became existing, and existing became sleepwalking through her own life. Her reflection in the rearview mirror shows a woman she barely recognizes, cheeks flushed, eyes bright with something that's been dormant for years. She looks alive in a way she'd forgotten was possible. The elevator kiss replays in her mind like a song on endless repeat. The way Marcus looked at her, not like she was perfect or convenient or appropriate, but like she was necessary, like, without her, all his success and sophistication were just beautiful, hollow things. When did David last look at her like that? When did anyone? A text from Marcus appears on her screen. No pressure. Just possibility. Nothing more. No manipulation. No guilt. No desperate pleas. Just an acknowledgement of choice, hers to make, hers to own, hers to live with. She thinks about the emerald ring he mentioned. How he'd stood outside her apartment, ready to bet their entire future on love instead of logic. How young and brave and foolish they'd been, hearts wide open and unafraid. When did she become someone who chose safety over possibility? Before she can lose her nerve, she's moving through the lobby, past the curious glances of well-dressed guests, into the mirrored elevator that carries her toward the 31st floor. With mechanical certainty, the hallway stretches before her like a bridge between worlds. At the end, Suite 3012 waits, with its promise of beautiful destruction. She knocks. The door opens immediately, as if he'd been waiting just behind it. Marcus has changed from his suit into dark jeans and a white shirt, sleeves rolled up, looking heartbreakingly casual and real. You came, he says, and there's wonder in his voice, like he hadn't quite dared to hope. I came, she agrees, stepping inside before she can change her mind. The suite is elegant without being ostentatious. Floor-to-ceiling windows, revealing the city's twinkling lights. A living area that manages to feel both luxurious and intimate. But she barely notices the details because Marcus is closing the door behind her, shutting out everything but this moment. Are you sure? He asks for the second time today, and she realizes this is who he's always been, the man who gives her choice even when it might destroy him. No, she says honestly, I'm terrified. I'm getting married in 4 months. I'm about to blow up everything stable and secure in my life for something that might burn out in a week. It might, he agrees, moving closer. Love isn't guaranteed, Sophie, but settling is. Settling is guaranteed to leave you empty. She thinks about David's careful courtship, his practical proposal in a restaurant he'd chosen because he knew she'd appreciate the quiet elegance, how he'd presented the ring like a business proposition, sensible timeline, compatible goals, logical progression. How she'd said yes because it made sense, not because it made her sore. I don't want to be empty anymore, she whispers. Marcus reaches for her then, slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When she doesn't, his hands cradle her face with reverent care. Then don't be, he says simply, and kisses her. This kiss is different from the desperate collision in the elevator. This is a choice made in full awareness of its consequences, a leap taken with eyes wide open. It's deeper, slower, weighted with 10 years of longing and the terrible beauty of second chances. Her engagement ring catches the lamplight as she threads her fingers through his hair, a glittering reminder of the life she's abandoning. Tomorrow, there will be consequences, phone calls to make, explanations to give, a future to unravel thread by careful thread. But tonight is theirs. I love you. Marcus whispers against her lips. I never stop loving you. I never will. The words she's been afraid to hear, afraid to say, afraid to want. They hit her like absolution and condemnation all at once. I love you too, she breathes, and speaking the truth aloud feels like the first real thing she's done in years. I love you, and I'm scared, and I don't know what happens next. What happens next, he says, lifting her off her feet with easy strength, is that we stop running from the best thing either of us has ever had. Outside, the storm continues its relentless song against the windows. But inside Suite 3012, Sophia finally comes home. Sophia wakes at dawn, golden light filtering through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Suite 3012. For a moment, she's disoriented. This isn't her pristine bedroom with its carefully coordinated neutrals. Isn't the king-sized bed she shares with David's methodical sleep schedule. This is aftermath. Beautiful, terrifying, irreversible aftermath. Marcus sleeps beside her, one arm curved protectively around her waist, his face peaceful in the early light. She studies him with the freedom of stolen time, the way his dark lashes cast shadows on his cheekbones, the small scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood accident she used to kiss better, the subtle lines that 10 years of success and solitude have etched around his eyes. He's even more beautiful than memory served, and memory had been devastatingly accurate. Her phone buzzes on the nightstand. Reality demanding attention. 17 missed calls from David. 12 voicemails. 23 text messages progressing from concern to confusion to barely controlled panic. Where are you? Called your office. They said you left after the client meeting. This isn't like you. Please call. I'm driving to your apartment. If you're not there, I'm calling the police. Guilt crashes over her like ice water. Sharp and immediate. David doesn't deserve this. The not knowing, the worry, the inevitable heartbreak that's coming. Whatever else she's done, however justified, her choices feel in this golden morning light. She's handled this with cruel selfishness. Hey, Marcus's voice is sleep rough, concerned. You okay? She holds up her phone, showing him the screen full of missed messages. David thinks I've been kidnapped, or worse. Marcus sits up, instantly alert. The sheet falls to his waist, revealing the lean strength of his torso, and even now, even with guilt gnawing at her, she feels that familiar pull of attraction. You need to call him, he says simply. I know, but she doesn't move, paralyzed by the magnitude of what that phone call will set in motion. How do I even begin to explain, with honesty? Marcus reaches for her hand, threading their fingers. Together, it'll hurt him less than lies. She stares at their joined hands, as tanned and strong, hers pale with the engagement ring still glittering on her finger like an accusation. The diamond catches the morning light, throwing rainbow fractures across the white sheets. I need to give this back, she says quietly. Yes, no judgment in his voice, just acknowledgement of necessary pain. You do. He's a good man, Marcus. He deserves someone who can love him completely, and you deserve to love someone completely. He brings their joined hands to his lips, pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. We both do. The simple statement holds 10 years of hard-won wisdom. She thinks about the women he mentioned, the models and heiresses he'd dated, searching for something he'd lost the night she chose safety over love. Just as she'd searched for the same spark with David, with others before him, always coming up empty. I'm scared, she admits. What if we're different now? What if this is just nostalgia and great chemistry? What if we hurt each other again? Marcus is quiet for a long moment, considering. When he speaks, his voice is steady and sure. We probably will hurt each other, he says. Love isn't a guarantee of perfect happiness, but settling for less because you're afraid of maybe getting hurt, that's guaranteed misery. He shifts to face her fully, green eyes serious and heartbreakingly tender. I've spent 10 years building an empire, Sophie. I've conquered markets and made millions and earned the respect of people I used to admire from afar. And you know what I learned? She shakes her head. Success without someone to share it with is just expensive loneliness. His thumb traces circles on her palm. I don't want to be lonely anymore. And I don't want you to settle for content when you could have extraordinary. The word hangs between them, extraordinary. Not safe or sensible or appropriate. Extraordinary. When did she stop believing she deserved extraordinary? Her phone buzzes. Again, David, relentless in his concern. She owes him honesty. Owes him the chance to find someone who can love him with the wholehearted devotion he deserves. I need to go, she says, but doesn't move. I know. Marcus releases her hand reluctantly. But this isn't goodbye. No, no. His smile is soft and certain and absolutely devastating. This is hello. Finally, after 10 years, this is hello. She kisses him then, pouring 10 years of regret and hope and desperate love into the connection. When they break apart, both breathless, she rests her forehead against his. Room 3012, she says. I'll remember. Good, he murmurs, because I'm not letting you disappear again. 2 hours later, she sits across from David in their favorite coffee shop, his engagement ring resting on the table between them like a small, glittering bridge she can't cross. There's someone else, she says quietly, gently, honestly. And for the first time in 10 years, the truth doesn't terrify her. Outside, the storm has passed, leaving the morning crystal clear and full of impossible possibilities. Lightning, she realizes, can strike twice. Sometimes it has to.